Video is about activists versus people who actually get something done. If anybody's watched this channel before, you'll know that I will tell you that an activist will be the first person that will destroy the credibility and not give a damn. They're a variation on what you see in the MAGA crowd. Doesn't matter what your politics are. If you have politics when you're talking about facts, you don't care about them. So here we go with this person who made something on a YouTube channel and also on TikTok. And someone on Reddit, who's this person here, who decided to criticize them and make it, from what I can tell, they're basically their career for a little while, to keep hating on this person over here on the right. I'm going to be doing the same thing, but for completely unrelated reasons. Now, I'm going to bring this up in light of a conspiracy theory on the internet about chemtrails and someone making an order of magnitude level mistake in a news report and giving credence to something when right there on the screen it had no merit. So let's go on with the first thing. This person here, A Brush with Art on YouTube, made yellow cake based paint. Yellow cake is a type of uranium derivative, about a gram of it. That's what's being bandied about and talked about. And I had to post a video explaining that they'd done everything necessary to make sure this isn't a problem, number one. And number two, that the exposure they could cause at worst case scenario is less than the exposure of turning on a dental x-ray machine and just aiming it into the neighborhood. It's extremely low risk. But more importantly, what happened afterwards is this person here, this creator here, I'm not going to name them, I don't care, decided to go all ham, making over 50 videos, it's much more than that by now, complaining about this and contacting the Nuclear Regulatory Commission and ending up contacting the NRC subsection, or whatever you want to call it, in Utah. And that's it. And said a bunch of things that may or may not be factual. So we're going to go into this really quickly. We're going to look up 1 gram uranium yellow cake, the proper term, paint. Yellow cake, again, is a product. It's a derivative of uranium ore. Okay? Here we go. TikTok said I'm a nuclear hazard. Science says otherwise, and it shows the person being vilified over here on the left and the person doing the vilifying on the right. And I'm going to point out that even if you say something that is patently false, it's almost impossible for you to be prosecuted or punished or even sued, because virtually every country makes a lot of leeway, which you may have noticed over the last couple of decades, for people getting away with this shit. We won't bring up Nile Red. I just want to see him just once as a supervillain in some cartoon. That's all I'm asking, because seriously. Anyway, here we go. Yellow cake uranium extracted from high-grade uranium ore, meaning rocks, that you can find everywhere. At home, read description. I extracted 24 grams of yellow cake. I already had 1.7 from a large piece of high-grade uranium ore. Authunite, and that's it. That's the video. That was 6 years ago. 20,000 views. Rogers Nuclear. Scroll up. She's got 200,000 views plus, explaining that, no, she didn't create a Superfund site. Let's move down. Isolating uranium yellow cake from ore. Gizmo, only 4,000 views, 8 years ago. I'm going to make a playlist. Here we go with, well, it's just Nerd Rage doing Nerd Rage stuff. Then we got, I don't know why that's there or that. Here we go. How to extract yellow cake from uranium ore at home. Unpaired electron, 25,000 views 6 years ago. Uranium from the ground, because that's where it comes from. How enriched uranium is made, how uranium is extracted from mines. It goes into being all these different stages, including one of them being yellow cake. Yellow cake, the dirt behind uranium. India school clinic built with uranium mine tailings. Dr. Yellow Cake does no harm. Okay, now, how much material is needed to prevent radiation from getting to you? and does mixing radioactive material, meaning rock from the ground, with, let's say, cement, and then coating it with another layer of, I don't know, mortar. Stop this. I want to point out that Strontium Milks is the channel name. Virtually every channel that I've been able to look up that talks about this kind of subject that includes the word milk, that became a code word for a group of people to get together and talk about Fukushima and everything else. They're hardline activists. Or not. Maybe not. But we're talking about India. Uranium market, minute, blah, blah, blah. Radioactive glass, making uranium glass. And Nile Red also had a video how he got permission from the NRC to do the project. Don't touch neutrons. Yellow cake, stop uranium mining in this area. This is what it looks like coming out of the ground. And yellow cake to conversion and uranium enrichment talked about. You can look these up. Okay, now let's go back to her video. TikTok said I'm a nuclear hazard. Science says otherwise. Now I'm going to say rather bluntly that if you misinterpret things on purpose to get views on TikTok or YouTube, that's bad. If you do accidentally and then correct yourself, that's good. A brush with, bekah. We're going to expand your video, and we're going to look at a single frame of it. The stating here says 1.664, almost, suspicious, 1.664 microsieverts, and then A per annum. That's per year. I know that's hard to interpret. That's fine. But you put in here, I know you say microsieverts, but you use 1.66 millisieverts over 1 year. That's an order of magnitude wrong by 1,000 to 1. The same thing happened when someone detected, quote-unquote, dangerous materials in the water table and in the ground in some random area in the middle of the United States, claiming it was caused by chemtrails. And instead of saying micro, they said milli. Or instead of nano, they said micro. Making an error of 1,000 to 1 is extremely easy to do when we use these exponent-based systems and not keep it very simple. The letter M means milli or 1/1000th. The mu character, it's actually pronounced mu, for micro, is for 1/1,000,000th. This is an error of 1,000 to 1. That's the only criticism I have in your video. I understand you state flat out, you're not into the subject matter. You were just making paints. I understand that. That's perfectly acceptable and expected. But you cannot, under any conditions, make a mistake that has a value that's off by 1,000 to 1, no matter how obvious it is that it's a simple mistake, and not have it exploited. I guarantee you, without a doubt, that if you were dealing with someone on TikTok screaming, you know, the end of the world is coming near because you made some paint, that they're going to look at the screen and use this instead of what it says here. And they're not going to back down. The person you're dealing with on the internet, this individual here, appears to be nothing more than a hacktivist or activist that desperately needs attention and is not truthfully sounding the alarm for public safety. I don't believe so. And on your case, I don't believe you're doing anything wrong at all. And again, this is something that was mass-produced at one time as paint. Uranium paint, because the material was a orangey yellow color. That's the only reason it was made. And yes, it seems like people in the past went out of their way to look for every poisonous thing on the planet to make things out of. I know that. But it was based on mostly, not always, but mostly complete ignorance. And again, the only mistake I'm seeing so far, and we're at 6 minutes and 58 seconds, is you making an error of 1,000 to 1 in your annotations. Never do that. This is how you do an annotation correctly when you're looking at this sort of thing. You let the guy talk, and then you do a summary afterwards by saying, these are the numbers. You zoom in on it. You don't restate it over here with going from basically a letter U, flipped left to right, to the letter M. That's all. Zoom in on the data. And by the way, if he's going to use a page like this, it should pump out the comparisons in bold letters. I hate doing it that way, but it's kind of required these days because people don't listen to what you say and people don't double check what you do. They look for any excuse to have a reason to make a comment under a video. And my video right now is a perfect example of it. I would have not made this video if it wasn't a 1,000 to 1 error. This is not something to be ashamed of or apologize for. It's something you simply correct and never allow yourself to do under any conditions ever. There is literally a meme on the internet about perfectly safe materials that you find in the ground being somehow poison dropped by the U.S. government to depopulate the United States because a reporter many years ago made a simple mistake that was 1,000 to 1, or actually 100 to 1, or whatever number. But they made an error of an order of magnitude several times over that was simply wrong, and no one will listen to you when you point out that it's plain as day, able to be checked. They don't care. Activists never do. You never give them the opportunity to lie about you, especially if they can use something you said. The gotcha is what they look for. It's a dopamine high. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. Please take this criticism as what it is, a critique of presentation, not of intent. Bye.